You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Marcus Aurelius. In a world that never stops moving, where the noise of life never fades, we often find ourselves chasing peace as if it were something we could hold in our hands. The glow of screens replaces the sunrise, and our thoughts run faster than our hearts can follow. Every day we scroll through endless distractions, hoping one moment will make us feel alive again. Yet the more we seek peace in the world around us, the more it slips through our fingers. We mistake comfort for meaning and busyness for purpose. Marcus Aurelius, an emperor burdened by the weight of nations, once reminded himself, and us, that true strength begins where control ends. His words are a quiet doorway into a truth we've forgotten, that peace is not found in the world, but in the stillness of the mind. The Stoics lived in a world of chaos, much like ours. They faced war, betrayal, and uncertainty, yet they discovered calm within themselves. They believed that the mind is our only kingdom, the one place we must learn to rule. And so, while the world shifted around them, they practiced stillness like an art. They trained their thoughts as warriors train for battle, knowing that serenity is not a gift, but a discipline. Today, our battles are invisible, fought through anxiety, fear of failure, and the endless noise of modern life. But the weapon remains the same: awareness, the strength to choose what deserves your energy and what does not. Imagine beginning your morning in silence, before the world intrudes. No rush, no screen, just breath. You open your eyes, not to check notifications, but to feel gratitude for another sunrise. You remind yourself that your peace is yours to protect, and no one can take it from you unless you hand it over. The Stoics would call this a victory, not over others, but over the chaos within. Because in that still moment, you reclaim your most precious freedom, the freedom to respond, not react. Now picture facing anger, not with fire, but with clarity. Facing loss, not with despair, but with calm acceptance. Life will always bring pain, but the Stoics teach us that pain becomes suffering only when the mind resists what is. Seneca once wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." The storms outside are nothing compared to the ones we create within. Yet the beauty of being human is that we can quiet those storms, not by changing the weather, but by mastering the wind within our soul. The Stoics never promised an easy life. They promised something far greater, a meaningful one, a life rooted in discipline, gratitude, and virtue, a life where peace is not the absence of struggle, but the ability to remain unshaken in its midst. Their wisdom was not written for monks or philosophers alone. It was written for you, for me, for anyone who longs for balance in a restless world. And the habits they left behind are not distant relics, but living practices, tools for a calmer, stronger mind. So as we explore these 7 Stoic habits, don't just listen with your ears, listen with your soul. Let the words move through you slowly, like the rhythm of deep breathing. Imagine yourself walking through life with less fear, less noise, and more presence. Imagine what it would mean to live each day not as a reaction, but as a choice. Because when you understand that your power lies not in what happens, but in how you meet it, you begin to live like a Stoic. You begin to live free. Life has always been a test of the mind. The Stoics understood that every sunrise brings with it 2 worlds, the world outside us and the world within. Most people spend their entire lives trying to fix the first while neglecting the second. They chase wealth, validation, and comfort, hoping that by perfecting their surroundings, they will find peace. But the Stoics whispered a different truth. Peace begins where desire ends. When the mind learns to be still amid chaos, the soul becomes untouchable. This is what we seek today. Not a perfect life, but a stable heart. Every age has its storms. Ours come in the form of constant comparison, endless noise, and the pressure to always be more. We are told that happiness lies in doing, achieving, owning. Yet the more we collect, the emptier we feel. It's as if we're standing in a crowded room, surrounded by voices, yet no one speaks to the silence inside us. Stoicism offers that conversation. It teaches that true strength is quiet, that happiness is not an emotion, but a state of alignment between what we can control and what we must release. Today, we will explore 7 Stoic habits that can transform not just your mindset, but your entire way of being. These habits are not ancient rituals lost to time. They are daily practices meant for the modern world. They are ways of thinking that can turn your ordinary mornings into sacred beginnings and your difficult moments into teachers. Each one is a small act of mastery, a seed that grows into inner freedom. Together, they form a philosophy of peace, not a distant ideal, but a lived experience. When we study Stoicism, we often imagine it as cold or emotionless, but that is a misunderstanding. The Stoics were not trying to avoid emotion, they sought to understand it. They knew that emotions are natural waves of the human experience. What matters is how we surf them. Seneca once said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. We lose time when we let our emotions control us instead of guiding us." Stoicism is the art of steering, of living deliberately, not by impulse. Each Stoic habit you'll hear today carries the weight of centuries, yet feels deeply personal, as if whispered by a wiser version of yourself. They remind us that calmness is not found by escaping the world, but by standing firm within it. They show us that every challenge can be a lesson, every setback a chance to practice strength. The Stoics believed that virtue, the pursuit of wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, is the highest good, and through these habits, we inch closer to that virtue, one conscious thought at a time. This video is not just a list of ideas, it's an invitation to slow down, to breathe, to listen to that quiet voice inside that has been drowned out by the noise of modern life. The Stoics invite you to step back and see your life from a higher view, as if you were watching the tide from the shore. The waves may crash, but the shore remains. That shore is your mind, calm, steady, and capable of peace no matter how loud the world becomes. As we journey through these 7 habits, imagine yourself applying them not in theory, but in your daily life. When someone speaks harshly, remember the power of response over reaction. When plans fall apart, remember the beauty of acceptance. When you feel lost, remember that every step in awareness brings you closer to yourself. The Stoics practiced their philosophy not in temples, but in the markets, in the courts, in the noise of life. You can do the same, here, now, in your own ordinary moments. Because in truth, Stoicism is not about changing the world, it's about changing your relationship to the world. It teaches that we are not victims of fate, but participants in it. Every event, every emotion, every challenge carries a lesson if we are willing to listen. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This is the heart of Stoicism, the realization that everything, even pain, can serve your growth. And so, as we begin this journey, let us pause, take a slow breath, feel the stillness that lies just beneath the surface of your thoughts. The world outside may be restless, but the one within can be calm. You have that power. You always have. The Stoics were not gods nor saints. They were humans, just like you, learning to live with grace in an imperfect world. Their wisdom survived centuries because it speaks to what never changes, the human soul's longing for peace. By the end of this video, you will know more than just Stoic philosophy. You will understand how to live it. These 7 habits are not just ancient teachings. They are living truths, waiting for you to remember them. The question is not whether they can change your life, but whether you are ready to let them. Most people believe transformation happens in great moments, through success, failure, or revelation. But the Stoics knew the truth was quieter. Real change is born in the small moments, when you choose silence over anger, discipline over comfort, and gratitude over complaint. It is not one grand act that builds strength, but 1,000 small victories over your impulses. Epictetus, who was born a slave and became one of the greatest philosophers of all time, said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." His life was proof that freedom is not about power. It's about self-control. Every moment you master your reaction, You reclaim a piece of yourself. There is something timeless about Stoicism. It does not age, because the human heart does not change. Our struggles may look different now, but the essence is the same. We still fear uncertainty. We still wrestle with ego. We still seek meaning in a world that often feels empty. The Stoics spoke to this same hunger for peace, and their words reach across centuries because they describe us. Their wisdom feels like a mirror, reflecting the parts of ourselves we've forgotten to tend. When we read Marcus Aurelius or Seneca, it's as if someone long gone still understands our quiet pain. And that is the beauty of Stoic philosophy. It reminds us that we are never truly alone in our struggle. The same questions that haunted ancient minds still whisper in ours. How can I live well? How can I remain calm when life feels unfair? How do I find purpose when everything feels uncertain? The Stoics did not promise answers in words, but in actions. Daily, deliberate, mindful acts that turn philosophy into life. And through these 7 habits you're about to learn, you'll discover what they discovered long ago, that peace is not given, it is practiced. The first habit of a Stoic life is the art of surrender, not to weakness, but to wisdom. Epictetus taught that freedom begins when we separate what depends on us from what does not. The weather, opinions, outcomes, these belong to the world, but our thoughts, choices, and responses, these belong to us. Most suffering comes from trying to control what was never ours to hold. Imagine your mind as a calm sea. Storms may rise, but you decide whether to drown or float. In a modern world that thrives on control, deadlines, plans, and perfection, the Stoic learns the quiet strength of letting go. When you release what you can't command, you gain command over yourself. True peace begins the moment you stop chasing control and start mastering acceptance. Seneca once said, "Set aside a certain number of days during which you shall be content with the scantiest fare and the coarsest dress," saying to yourself the while, "Is this the condition that I feared?" The Stoics believed that comfort breeds weakness, not because comfort is evil, but because dependence is. Every so often, they practiced discomfort on purpose, sleeping on the floor, fasting, walking in the cold, not to suffer, but to remind themselves of their strength. In our world of constant ease, voluntary discomfort is rebellion. It teaches gratitude for what we have and resilience when we lose it. You don't grow by avoiding hardship. You grow by meeting it willingly. So try small acts of challenge. Wake early. Take cold showers. Face silence. The Stoics knew, what you fear is often your greatest teacher. Marcus Aurelius never wrote meditations for us. He wrote them for himself. Each line was a conversation between his higher and lower self, a reminder of who he wished to be. This is the third habit. To journal, not for memory, but for mastery. In writing, the Stoics purified their thoughts, exposed their weaknesses, and anchored their values. Today, journaling is still a mirror of the mind, a place to translate confusion into clarity. When you put your thoughts on paper, they stop controlling you. You begin to see them as clouds passing across your sky. Try writing each morning or night. What did I do well? What can I do better? The page will not judge you. It will reveal you. In that honesty, peace begins. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Every obstacle, in Stoic eyes, is not a curse, but a path." The Stoic doesn't ask, "Why me?" but rather, "How can this serve me?" When life blocks your road, it is not denying you progress. It is teaching you strength. Think of a tree that grows in strong wind. Its roots dig deeper. Its trunk grows tougher. In our lives, too, resistance is what builds resilience. A lost job, a heartbreak, a failure. Each one hides a gift. The Stoic habit is to pause and look for it. For in every setback lies a seed, the seed of wisdom, waiting for you to water it with patience. To live like a Stoic is to live fully in the now. The past cannot be changed. The future cannot be known. Yet most of us live everywhere but here. We replay mistakes, anticipate problems, and forget that life only ever happens in this breath. Epictetus said, "As it is, you are frightened of death because you wish to live, but life is only possible by dying each moment to the past." The Stoic habit is to return, again and again, to this moment. Feel the weight of your breath. Notice the ground beneath your feet. Gratitude lives here, not in some imagined tomorrow. When you master the present, time loses its power over you, and peace quietly enters. Silence is the language of wisdom. The Stoics practiced restraint in speech, knowing that words once spoken cannot be recalled. They understood that talking too much often reveals the mind's unrest. Seneca advised, "Better to trip with the feet than with the tongue." In a world addicted to noise, the Stoic habit of silence is radical. To listen deeply is to understand yourself and others. It means observing before reacting, responding with thought, not impulse. Next time you're in conversation, pause before you speak. Notice what silence reveals. Often, the quietest person in the room carries the deepest calm. Memento mori. Remember, you must die. To modern ears, it sounds grim, but to the Stoics, it was liberation. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily of mortality, not to live in fear, but in purpose. When you remember that time is short, you stop wasting it on what doesn't matter. You forgive faster, love deeper, speak truer. Every sunrise becomes sacred, every act intentional. The Stoics saw death not as an ending, but as a mirror reflecting the value of life. This habit, to reflect on mortality, is not about sorrow, it's about clarity. When you live with death in mind, you finally learn how to live. The Stoics believed that the greatest victory is not over others, but over oneself. When we master the habits of the mind, life transforms from a battlefield into a garden. Each habit, control, resilience, presence, silence, reflection, becomes a seed of strength planted in the soil of awareness. And like all gardens, peace requires tending. You will forget, you will stumble, you will react when you wish to respond. But each time you return to these teachings, you water the seeds again. Growth is not sudden, it is steady. Even Marcus Aurelius had to remind himself daily of truths he already knew. The Stoic path is not perfection, it is practice. In a noisy world, Stoicism feels like standing beside a quiet river, still, unmoving, honest. The current of life continues to rush by, but you no longer need to fight it. You simply stand in stillness, watching each thought, each event, flow past without pulling you under. This is the essence of freedom, to experience the world fully, yet remain unshaken by it. You learn that peace is not somewhere to arrive at. It is something you carry within you. The Stoic learns to walk through fire with a calm heart, to face chaos with a gentle soul. They don't escape life, they meet it completely. Each of these 7 habits is a mirror reflecting your inner state. When you focus only on what you can control, you reclaim your mind from the world. When you practice discomfort, you remind yourself that strength is your natural state. When you journal, you return home to your own thoughts, cleansing the noise of the day. When you turn obstacles into opportunities, you prove that fate cannot defeat you. It can only shape you. To live this way is to live deliberately, no longer drifting through life's storms, but steering with intention. Every habit is a way of remembering who you truly are, calm, strong, and free. The Stoics never promised that practicing virtue would remove pain. They promised it would remove needless pain. Life will still challenge you. It will still break your heart. But when you approach it with awareness, suffering transforms into wisdom. A lost opportunity becomes a teacher. A harsh word becomes a test of patience. Even death, that most feared truth, becomes a guide for how to live more fully today. The Stoic sees life as a short play, and their only duty is to perform their role with grace. You cannot choose the script, but you can choose your character. When we live by these habits, something beautiful happens. We begin to slow down. We begin to notice the small details, the warmth of sunlight through the window, the quiet rhythm of our breath, the sound of rain against the world. We begin to see that life was never against us. We were simply not listening. The Stoic habit is not about withdrawal, it is about awareness. To be still in a moving world is to see clearly for the first time. That is what the Stoics found in the heart of discipline, the kind of joy that does not depend on circumstances, but on clarity. There is a quiet strength in choosing peace when anger is easier. There is courage in letting go when holding on would feel justified. These are not small acts, they are the foundation of wisdom. The Stoics called it virtue, the alignment of the soul with nature, the living of one's truth without pretense or fear. Each habit, practiced daily, carves away the unnecessary and reveals the essential. You become lighter, calmer, more aware, and slowly, almost imperceptibly, you begin to resemble the calm you once sought in others. In time, Stoicism becomes less of a philosophy and more of a way of breathing. You stop forcing peace and start living it. You stop needing control and begin trusting the flow of life. You realize that your mind, once restless, now feels like still water, reflecting without distortion. The same problems exist, but your relationship to them changes. You respond instead of react. You observe instead of resist. You understand instead of judge. This is what it means to live as a Stoic, not to escape pain, but to rise above it with grace. And when you reflect on these teachings, you begin to see their simplicity. Nothing here is beyond reach. Every person, rich or poor, young or old, burdened or free, has access to this peace. The Stoics lived without modern comforts, yet found joy. We live with abundance, yet seek meaning. The difference is not in circumstance, but in perspective, and that is what these habits restore: perspective. They teach you to see clearly, love deeply, and act wisely. The world may change, but the mind that knows itself remains eternal. There comes a moment in every person's life when they realize that peace was never lost. It was simply buried beneath noise, beneath anger, fear, and endless wanting. The Stoic journey is about returning to that buried stillness, one conscious breath at a time. It is the gentle art of coming home to yourself. You begin to notice that the world's chaos only disturbs you when you let it enter your heart. And so, you learn to guard your peace the way a temple guards its flame, not with walls, but with awareness. You walk slower, speak softer, and see more clearly. You understand that wisdom is not loud, it whispers. When you practice these 7 habits long enough, life itself begins to change shape. Problems shrink to their real size. The opinions of others lose their weight. What once felt urgent begins to fade into quiet insignificance. You start measuring your days not by what you achieve, but by how calmly you live them. The Stoics taught that tranquility is the highest wealth, for no external fortune can buy what a disciplined mind creates. Slowly, your reactions become reflections. Your suffering becomes your teacher. You no longer wish for a perfect life, only for the strength to live this one with grace. And perhaps that is the hidden gift of Stoicism. It teaches us that we already have everything we need. We are not incomplete, we are simply distracted. The mind, when quieted, reveals its own light. The Stoics saw this truth clearly, that no man can be harmed by the world unless he harms his own soul first. So when the noise returns, as it always will, you will know where to turn. Back to the habits, back to stillness, back to the strength within. Because in mastering yourself, you master life, and in mastering life, you finally find peace. As this reflection comes to a close, take a moment to breathe. Feel the stillness behind your thoughts. The world outside continues to move, faster, louder, endlessly demanding. But right here, right now, you are reminded of a different rhythm. The Stoics lived by it, a quiet rhythm of presence, of choice, of peace. You are not your fears, your failures, or your circumstances. You are the awareness beneath them, calm, unshaken, free. Remember, peace does not arrive when the noise stops. It arrives when you no longer allow it to control you. Every Stoic habit we've explored is not just a lesson, it is a mirror. It reflects the potential that has always lived within you, to focus on what you can control, to embrace discomfort, to journal with purpose, to see obstacles as teachers, to live in the present, to speak less and listen deeply. to remember the brevity of life. These are not ideas meant for philosophers in stone halls. They are tools for anyone trying to live with strength in a fragile world. You are capable of this peace. You are built for it. Think about how far you've already come, the storms you've survived, the nights you thought would never end, but did. The resilience you didn't even know you had. That is Stoicism in action. It doesn't demand perfection. It simply asks that you show up, that you keep practicing calm when the world is loud, that you choose wisdom when anger calls your name. Every moment is a chance to begin again, and every breath a quiet act of courage. The Stoics understood that peace is not a destination, it is a daily discipline. So, as you finish this video, don't let these words fade with the closing frame. Let them stay with you in the small moments, when you wake before dawn, when your patience is tested, when silence feels heavy. Remember that you are not here to control the world, but to meet it with grace. You are not here to escape life's storms, but to learn how to walk calmly through them. Carry these habits into your days. Let them shape the way you think, speak, and live. Over time, they will become part of you. Quiet, steady, unshakable. And if this message spoke to something within you, if it reminded you of the strength you've always had, then you already understand what it means to live as a Stoic. Not cold, not detached, but alive in the deepest sense. To live with awareness is to live fully, to think clearly, to love wisely, to suffer consciously. This is the way of the Stoic, and this is the way back to peace. Thank you for spending this time with the Stoic Journal. May these teachings serve as your compass through the days ahead. If this reflection brought you calm or clarity, consider subscribing, not for numbers, but for a shared journey of wisdom. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Your reflections may become light for someone else's path. Because this channel is more than words, it is a quiet place for those seeking meaning in the noise. And as we close, remember this simple truth from Marcus Aurelius. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. So guard them well, breathe deeply, live simply, and walk gently, knowing that peace is not found at the end of the road, but in how you travel it.